We're going to find out in today's show.
All right.
Stay tuned. It'll be a surprise to everyone except Tom.
No, if you've actually read the lineup, you shouldn't be surprised at all.
I mean, I was teeing you up, man.
I thought you were doing, yeah.
Roger should know better.
I don't know why.
Oh, that's kidding.
Because it's a good day.
It's a good day, Internet.
You know, I was looking at, because when I was doing...
Real quick.
Yeah.
I want to apologize, now that we're on YouTube too, for the echoing that was in the recorded versions of Good Day Internet and DTNS on Tuesday. I have this thing called USB pass-through that lets me take anything I'm playing on my computer and send it back to Sarah and Roger. But what it also does is send Sarah and Roger back to themselves as well, which is why it was doing this echo. You actually don't hear it because it's me talking. Say something, Sarah.
Hey, Sarah here. Am I echoing?
Yes, you would have been echoing in the recorded version, but
because I can't hear it.
Exactly. So they didn't notice because they don't hear it. It only goes into the recorded version if I forget. So apologies for that. Okay, Sarah, you were going to say.
I don't remember.
I am going to run
I was going to say.
Backup of the show audio.
Yes, that's a good idea.
Just let me know when you're going to start. I will press the magic button.
Excellent. Sarah, it's Sarah's turn to kick off the show.
I was wondering when you were going to ask me to do that again. I guess today's the day. Oh, I remember when I was doing Daily Tech Headlines this morning. You know, I'm in our subreddit, and I see a little screenshot of myself on the right-hand side from the old studio in my other room, and I was like, missed that one.
Oh, yeah.
I need to, give this a little, give it a little love. Make it look a little bit more like the way I had it before.
More like home.
Yeah, I liked it that way. Okay, whenever.
Justin, are you ready?
I'm ready to roll.
Okay, here we go. 3, 2.
Daily Tech News Show is powered by you. To find out more, head to dailytechnewsshow.com/support.
This is the Daily Tech News for Thursday, July 5th, 2018 in Los Angeles. I'm Tom Merritt.
And from Studio Feline, I'm Sarah Lane.
From Oakland, California, I'm Justin Robert Young.
And, of course, with us is our producer, Roger Chang.
Hello, everyone.
It's kind of creepy today, Roger.
Oh, sorry. Hey, how you doing?
Kind of a breathy thing.
Yeah.
No, it's good.
I like it. Hey, so folks may start to notice if you're on the public DTNS feed that an advertisement may pop in occasionally. We have no idea what those are, but we do know they're happening. They're part of an agreement with Acast for the public-only version. If you're a patron and you're like, well, hold on, I don't want ads, I'm a patron, go to patreon.com/DTNS. Look at the monthly post that I just posted today. There's a link in there for you. Or you can subscribe through Patreon to Good Day Internet and get even more of Sarah, myself, and our fellows with a longer show. So those are your options. Now, let's start with a few tech things you should know.
Kenya, the country, will use Alphabet's Project Loon to cover the country with high-speed internet access, particularly in rural areas, Kenya's ICT minister said on Thursday. Project Loon was developed by Alphabet's X, the company's innovation lab.
Exciting to see how that works. Sources tell CTech that Apple told Intel, Game of Telephone, that it will not use the chip maker's radio chips in its 2020 iPhones. Apple reportedly was the primary customer for the combined 5G, Wi-Fi, and Bluetooth chip. Sources say Intel has now halted development of the product.
ZTE named Zhu Ziyang as its new CEO. He is a 20-year veteran of the company who formerly headed up the company's business in Germany. ZTE also named a new CFO, CTO, and a new head of HR. Earlier this week, the U.S. Commerce Department said it would grant a 1-month waiver to some companies to resume doing business with ZTE.
Analyst Ming-Chi Kuo reports that the upcoming 6.5-inch OLED iPhone model should be priced around $1,000, like the current iPhone 10, and will also feature dual SIM capabilities. Kuo reports that there's also a 6.1-inch LCD phone, iPhone 10 style device, that should retail for about $700. The 6.5-inch phone will possibly come in black, white, and a new form of gold. The entry-level 6.1-inch LCD iPhone will apparently debut in gray, white, blue, red, and orange.
So says Quo.
Taste the ring, Quo.
Tinder launched a new Loops feature that will add 2-second looping videos to your profile in addition to still photos. The feature is live for iOS users in the US, UK, Canada, and some parts of Western Europe, Asia, and the Middle East.
Loop it. Tinder Loops, part of this nutritious breakfast. Let's talk a little more about Amazon. Bloomberg sources say the Big A plans to publish a paper holiday toy catalog to be delivered through the mail, as well as distributed through Whole Foods locations. Toys R Us used to put out the 100-page big book, a staple of holiday toy buying, but Toys R Us is bankrupt, so they won't be doing that anymore. Target and Walmart also publish holiday toy catalogs. They will continue to do that. And the sources said Amazon considered buying Toys R Us locations earlier this year. Amazon's not commenting, so we don't know what became of that. But I mean, for my generation, it was the Wish Book, Sears and JCPenney. But it's a time-honored tradition, at least in the United States, to go through and circle the toys you want and the hopes that somehow Santa finds out.
Well, that was what I was going to ask Roger as the, resident parent of the group here is like, is this something that kids still do? I have never seen the Toys R Us catalog, but my parents kept me out of Toys R Us stores because they, for obvious reasons, because I just wanted everything. So
it's hard to judge because my kid isn't that old enough to like point at things and like buy repeatedly. But I do see the attraction because it's one of those things that, in a way, it's advertisement, but it has a ripple effect, right? Somebody takes it and they can rip out a page and they can bring it to someone's like, this is what I want. Or a kid might take out a page and paste it on the refrigerator with the circle says, this is what I want. It's a way to kind of indelibly connect the need from the parent or need from the child and focus it intensely on the parent wherever
we
they
got
go.
so much trouble if we ripped the pages out.
Oh,
that was against the rules.
Oh my!
That's why I kind of breathed in when Roger said that.
My parents didn't care. It comes every year.
No.
Well, so let's think. So Whole Foods, right? So I'm at Whole Foods later today, which I will be.
Mm-hmm.
There's a catalog there. Some kids kind of leafing through it and screaming, "I want this toy!" Like that's the idea, right? And it's something that Amazon would also stock at Whole Foods.
Can you imagine the syrupy nostalgia prose that we will read in 50 years about how you knew it was the holiday season because mother and father picked up the Amazon catalog and scanned the QR codes that would become your Christmas wishes later in the year. I think this is smart. They have the physical places to do it. The idea that they looked at Toys R Us is very interesting because I think now we are watching the bottoming out of big retail chains, or at least the price ripening for somebody like Amazon to say, no, we can do retail better. The question is exactly how that works out. But this makes sense because now they have physical places where they can distribute it.
No, Amazon, Target, and Walmart are all chomping at the bit to eat up what was Toys R Us's toy market.
Yeah.
The European Parliament voted 318 to 278 to send the revised copyright directives, including controversial articles, Article 11, which would extend copyright protection in full to publishers of press publications with the intent to stop products like Google News from scraping text from articles without paying a fee, and also Article 13, which would require information society service providers that store and provide to the public access to large amounts of works or other subject matter uploaded by their users to prevent the availability on their services of works or other subject matter identified by right holders. The directive mentions the use of effective content recognition technologies as an example.
I have to say, what the EU Parliament did here was in majority anyway, say, hey, you know what? Right idea, wrong implementation. This is going to cause a lot of problems if we put it in this way. Let's send it back for debate and take another stab at it, which is actually what you should do.
Yes. Let's organize a committee to send it to another committee, so we might then discuss the rightliness of its committee worthiness.
Well, and from what I understand, and again, I'm following this all from afar, is particularly Article 13, the idea that, let's say YouTube as an example, if you have to, if everything has to be scanned at upload, right, rather than looked at later on, how that changes the copyright issues between the company and all of its users, it's kind of a mess. It's a potential mess.
Well,
and there was,
that's the problem is they're saying we need you to do something to prevent the uploading of copyrighted works. We're not taking away your safe harbor as long as you do that. But like you say, that just turns it into a mess, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
The Register reports that UK Metropolitan Police Commissioner Cressida Dick said trials of automated facial recognition systems were expected by the public, despite criticism that the technology is, quote, almost entirely inaccurate and would lead to lots of arrests, end quote. The London
would not lead to lots of arrests. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Big lots of arrests. Sorry. Yeah. Let me read it again. Quote, almost entirely inaccurate and wouldn't lead to lots of arrests. I got thrown off because there was another quote inside the quote. Apologies.
All right, that's my fault.
The London Force has been deploying the technology at public events like concerts, festivals, and soccer matches. Mobile CCTV cameras are used to scan crowds and try to match images of faces to mugshots of wanted individuals. According to data released under the UK's Freedom of Information laws, the Metropolitan's AFR system has a 98% false positive rate, meaning that 98% of the quote-unquote matches it makes are of innocent people.
Oh, but why wouldn't they want to do it anyway?
Listen,
hey,
I
2%.
Police Commissioner Dick is saying, I think it's fine for us to test this. We're not making arrests based on it yet. And of course, it's bad right now because it's new, but it won't get better until we test it. That's reasonable, but it sidesteps the whole thing about should you be doing it at all.
Yeah. Look, this is not something I think whenever anybody wants to put the phrases new emerging technology and the ability to be arrested in the same sentence, I think there is a rightful pause. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, what they're doing is the right way to do it, to say we're not using it to make arrests, but make that clear and then just debate, like, do we need to be using this at all yet? Is this the right time to even start testing it?
Is it up to the police to be getting this to the point where they should be using it? Shouldn't this be a technology that the police...
Part of how you make sure it works for the police is have the police test it. I think that's reasonable.
Yeah, sure. I think having the commissioner say, well, the public expects us to do this, especially at, at a soccer match or some place where a lot of people are. It's not working well, but everyone thinks that we're going to do this anyway. So, have to start somewhere. I mean, that's the problem. It's
all right. It's time for me to introduce you to Numtots. I'm fascinated by this. It's not a food. I'm very sorry about that. The Guardian has a piece about the rising popularity of the Facebook group New Urbanist Memes for Transit-Oriented Teens, or Numtots. A post highlighted by The Guardian, for instance, says, yeah, sex is cool, but have you ever fantasized about an infrastructure renewal program funded by the taxes of billionaires?
Who hasn't?
That's gives you the general sense of the Numtots page. The URL is facebook.com/groups/what would Jane Jacobs do, referring to Jane Jacobs, the author of The Death and Life of Great American Cities. The group was co-founded in March by Juliet Eldred and Emily Orenstein from the University of Chicago with Jonathan Marty of New York University, following a heated disagreement they had with some other people on the internet about the National Interstate and Defense Highways Act of 1956. The group from March till now has gone to 95,000 members plus, and it's the classic meme type thing you see in all of these horrible fake news political things you see, but it's about urban renewal and transit and urban design. And I just found it fascinating. I know it's probably not the only example of this, but is it just a passing fad of Gen Y and millennials because it's sort of absurd, or does it portend some hot new trend of urbanism?
Well, I think the question here is whether or not it's leads to greater political viability for these kinds of plans. I mean, the idea of the memification of politics is real, and it is here. And there are certain segments of the political populace for which pride themselves on their memes and their S-posting, if you will. So this is, I think, an outgrowth of that, certainly a very nerdy one.
Almost a parody of it, honestly.
Well, I do think that there is an earnestness to the idea that these guys want a better sense of
I think that's
planning.
true, but they're also not taking themselves too seriously, which is part of the charm of it as well.
Yeah, but that's inherently in the meme.
Sure.
That there's an element of self-effacing, an acknowledgement of the facts, even if they might be embarrassing, that kind of goes hand in hand with a meme.
I'm just saying, if a SimCity 3000 playlist gets you excited, go sign up.
Well, Tom, you said before the show started that you were accepted into.
They did. They approved my. I'm now part of the group.
I would like a full report tomorrow.
All right, excellent.
On what they're talking about.
You Numtot You.
It's like, yeah. What's that? Like wired and tired, like tired NIMBYs, wired Numtots. If anyone got that, then
I'm here
probably.
For Sarah.
There is a lot of talk about YIMBYs on Numtots, which is
YIMBYs, yes, YIMBYs versus the NIMBYs. I don't know. I'm both. Depends on if it's the 4th of July or not. At the 2018 Baidu Creator Developer Conference happening in Beijing this week, the company announced it's partnering with Intel to deploy Israeli developer Mobileye's technology into autonomous vehicle effort Project Apollo. Baidu plans to merge Mobileye's responsibility sensitive safety. It's an acronym that is RSS, although I think that's a terrible idea, so I'm not going to call it that. Yeah. Model onto code of the commercial Apollo Drive program and Apollo Pilot, which is the deployment version of Project Apollo. Baidu will also use Mobileye's surround computer vision kit as the preferred perception solution to Project Apollo. Yeah.
And Baidu wants to put it in buses, a mass transit opportunity.
How about that?
Numtots.
YIMBYs.
Yeah, this is interesting in another way too, because you've got a Chinese company, Baidu, working with an Israeli company, Mobileye, which is owned by an American company, Intel, doing a multinational effort to make self-driving vehicles more reliable and safe.
Well, good on them.
Yes, exactly.
I think it's a great idea.
You're not against it. I'm so glad. No, hey, folks, if you want to get all the tech headlines each day in about 5 minutes, be sure to subscribe to Daily Tech Headlines at dailytechheadlines.com. All right. The government of India is asking WhatsApp for help cracking down on irresponsible messages after at least 17 people were killed in mob lynchings over the last 3 months. What's happening in a lot of these cases is a rumor of child kidnapping, starts to spread in WhatsApp groups. People start taking things into their own hands and attack and kill strangers. WhatsApp has 200 million users in India and growing. It's a personal messaging app. Remember, this is not a social network platform. End-to-end encryption on WhatsApp means even WhatsApp can't see what's being said on the platform between people unless it is allowed to become a member of a group, which can happen sometimes. But also, because it's a messaging app, and one thing for people outside of India to understand, as I have been told by people in India, not because I understand it myself, is that WhatsApp is kind of a wake up and do it first thing for a lot of people there. Like, it is used in a much more social network like way than perhaps maybe you're used to using messaging apps. And people tend to believe what's being said to them, though, because it's a messaging app. They're like, oh, well, this actual person is saying to me. It's not some government agency. It's not some fly-by-night blog. It's a message. You just naturally tend to believe messages more. So what WhatsApp is doing is making it easier to leave groups and block people. They're planning some ad campaigns to help dispel rumors. They're starting a program with law enforcement on best practices for using WhatsApp as a resource for community policing, labeling messages as forwarded from someone else so you can tell, oh, it's not from them. They're sending it along from somewhere else. But there's more that could be done. Pointer also has an article about a similar issue on WeChat, which is not end-to-end encrypted. But there is a lot of unverified information going around. It's not leading to the same problems that WeChat has in India, but there are fact-checking messaging apps on WeChat cropping up to try to fight that there as well. Justin and Sarah, I think one of the reasons I wanted to talk about this is with a messaging app, you have the same problem that we talk about on Facebook and Twitter and elsewhere, but with those, the solution seems to always be, well, block the bad guys, block the bad speech. The platform needs to do something about it. In a messaging app, the platform can't do anything about it, because that would be like saying, tell people what they can and can't say to each other on the phone, say.
Yeah. Justin, I think my first reaction is to compare this to Facebook. And I know that WhatsApp and Facebook it owns WhatsApp. So, but there are occasionally a message that gets to me on Facebook Messenger, which acts mostly the same way. Where I'll be like, why are you forwarding this to me? Like, whoever sent this to me is, like, this bad information, or it's a hoax or whatever. It doesn't happen that often. If it happened more and it confused me more, then yeah, I can see where this sort of thing would be an issue.
Well, and imagine, Sarah, that you're not just getting a message from a person every once in a while. You're in all of these groups.
Well, sure. Well, I'm in a lot of Facebook groups, so
right?
I still kind of
done through messaging instead of through a Facebook group page. Yeah.
Well, but I'm in Facebook messaging groups. So it's 10 or 12 of us that we have some sort of a common ground, and we talk about stuff. But
these WhatsApp groups are bigger, I think.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, and I'm sure there are some cultural nuances that I'm not totally understanding, where maybe in the country of India, this would spread more widely than anything that I understand personally. I think knowing where the source came from and adding certain, sort of metadata to messages is a great first step for WhatsApp. I'm somewhat perplexed as to why this particular app seems to be fueling things that end in lynchings.
Well, I think the issue here is that it's so popular, and I don't think that it should necessarily be so much of a surprise in countries where mobile internet is so gigantic, because it's far more lightweight and easy to consume than something that would require a more graphically intensive, which is hard to think of Facebook as graphically intensive, but for the mobile web, a chat just listing words is a lot easier.
Well, put it this way: Facebook came from the desktop and had to adapt to mobile. WhatsApp is native to mobile. So the idea here is tricky, because you can't top down try to do it. And believe you me, I've been as skeptical as anybody about even Facebook's ability to top down, tone down, quote unquote fake news and stuff like that. However, I do think that for issues like this, as unsavory as these acts have become, and if we're talking about 17 people killed that have unverified levels of guilt, and even if they have levels of guilt, that this is vigilante mob justice, that is something that needs to be addressed as a cultural problem. I would suspect the solution is something closer to, if you see something, say something. So if you're in a massive group chat where things seem to be going sideways, that there is a way that at the very least you can loop in, be it WhatsApp as a platform, or WhatsApp can then forward these things on to some kind of authority that could then at least be aware of the fact that a lynch mob was moving in to someone's house. So at least the authorities could be looped in on stuff like this. But it's a hard problem, and it's one in which you're right. To me, Tom, the first thing I thought of was like, okay, well, how does AT&T stop a murder? Yeah, this murder, we can see by records that this murder was planned on a cell phone, and AT&T needs to do something about it. That's something that we would find to be out of their control. With WhatsApp, you would think there's a little bit more, but they're still just a platform with end-to-end encryption, which is why they're popular to begin with. I've been hammering on quietly in my corner for a long time that we don't know why or what the effect of a lot of this stuff is. And until we study that, we don't really know if the proposed solutions will have an effect. This is an example of what I'm talking about, because it's natural to think like, well, if Facebook can stop the bad things from being said, they should stop them. But what happens when they can't? And that's what we're seeing with WhatsApp is WhatsApp would have to change its product and not be an end-to-end encrypted service to stop it. So they're forced, and the Indian government is forced to try to figure out, well, how do we get people to stop doing the thing we want them to stop, which is treating the actual problem, not just the symptom. And I think probably if it is a big if, they can figure this out, will be much more instructive about how to combat these sorts of things elsewhere than just saying, well, you need to have better filters and you need to have better blocks and things like that. We need to figure out like how do you get people to think more critically about stuff? How do you teach them, like, just because it's a message from someone on your WhatsApp group doesn't mean it's credible? That's a tall order, but it's what they're forced to do here.
Well, and I think that the cultural, I keep calling it cultural difference because I don't really know how to describe it. If I'm on a private group chat with us, it's you and me and Justin and Roger, and Tom, and we're all talking, and I trust all of you. It's like I will be more than willing to believe pretty much everything that you send to me because it's a small group and we've kind of vetted each other already. The more people who are in any group, no matter what it's about, the less I trust anything that's being said, because that's just how the internet works in my experience. So why is it that this sort of thing is gaining so much momentum when people should kind of know that, because that's how human behavior is?
I think it's a WhatsApp culture, not an Indian culture thing at work here. You
Right.
don't use WhatsApp the way it's used by 200,000 Indians. Because if I have this right, and people in India, please write in and let us know why you think maybe this is going on. I'm in big group A with thousands of people, and I get these messages that come in from it, and it's like, oh, okay, I'm going to pass that along to my small group B. And now it's you seeing me pass you a message. You're like, well, I'm going to believe this because it came from Tom. But it's not really me saying it. I'm passing it along from big group because I'm like, wow, that's crazy. And so it's no different than what happens on Facebook.
Exactly. That's the thing,
But
is like we all see how
the
that
problem
goes
also
awry.
the problem also exists on Facebook. And add to that there is a natural tendency when you get a direct message from someone to lend it more credence, like you just said.
Sure.
And this creates that system and sort of amplifies it.
But if part of this is the groups are so big that this information and this idea is spreading harmfully, then
it's not just spreading inside the group, though, I guess was the point I'm trying to make.
But it starts
Right.
inside the group, which means a lot of people see it. And so if part of this is we're putting out a address of somebody for whom bad stuff is a brewing, then the answer to me is how much more quickly can somebody narc out the fact that this information is there, and how can we incentivize the idea that at a click, you're not going to be, nobody will know. You can just let people know, hey, this is getting into a dark place, and I think somebody beyond this should know. And if there's a platform level response to this, I think that would be the move for WhatsApp.
And that platform is education. It's teaching people, hey, somebody may have passed it along from the big group because they thought it was funny. Or maybe they're one of the few people who just didn't understand that it's not credible. But once it gets passed along, it starts to feel more credible. You need to be more critical about that. And labeling things as being forwarded is a big part of that. So it doesn't feel like, oh, I'm telling you this is true.
Right. It's passing it along from.
That makes a difference. Yeah.
I haven't been to India in some time, and there was no WhatsApp the last time I was there. So I cannot speak to India specifically, but I will say anywhere else in the entire world besides China, where it's WeChat, I mean, WhatsApp that's the way people communicate. Anytime you want to have one-on-one group text, anything, it's WhatsApp. So, I mean, this is a huge network for people, whether they're spreading false information or not.
And as Spire in our chat room says, in India, news media is not getting to parts of the country that it should, and it's not trusted even if it does. So that may be part of it too.
Well, thanks to everybody who participates in our subreddit, and you submit a lot of these kinds of stories, and we love knowing what it is that you want to hear more about and have us talk about. Submit stories and also vote on other stories at dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. If you prefer to hang out on Facebook, or maybe you'd like to hang out in both places, great. Facebook.com/groups/Daily Tech News Show is where to go.
We love getting your emails. They come through the internet and into our mailbag, and then Sarah reads them.
Yes. I haven't gotten a paper letter yet, but when I do, I will be sure to read that. This one is electronic. It comes from Adina Schutzberg, who is in Clarinet 3 from the Concord Band, a symphonic wind ensemble in Concord, Massachusetts. I think Roger probably knows what Clarinet 3 means.
Third seat in the clarinet section, I believe.
Okay. Well, so Tom knows it too. Adina says, a few weeks ago, I gave a fellow clarinet player a ride home from rehearsal. She was just getting into podcasts, looking for something new. She asked how to keep up with technology. I suggested DTNS. She now says DTNS makes her mornings far more productive, and how even if she doesn't think the featured topic is important right away, by the end of it, she feels like she understands both the technology at issue and why it was important, which is exactly the point of the show. So I thought that was a really, really nice feedback email to get. Adina says, we will start working on the rest of the clarinet section at our next rehearsal. So
and then on to the rest of the woodwinds, then the brass. No, this made my day, Adina. Thank you so much. Yeah. Also, just got right before the show an email from Professor of Vision Science Jenny C.A. Reed of the Institute of Neuroscience at Newcastle University that they got our Mantis t-shirts.
Yay!
That Len Peralta's 3D Mantis illustration says Tiny Mantis. They're the folks who actually did the research that had the mantises with the tiny 3D glasses. She says, I'm trying to get the team together for a group photo, and we will definitely tweet that when we do. So she says, thank you so much for this lovely, kind gesture. Feel free to make more cool cartoons and items of clothing featuring my research anytime. Keep making the amazing research too, Jenny. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks, Jenny. Thanks, Adina. And also thanks to Justin Robert Young for being with us on this fine Thursday. Justin, what's been going on with you since we saw you on Monday?
Well, I'll tell you what, I think it's about the same thing. The Contender, the game of presidential debate. It's a social card game. It's super fun. You have real presidential candidate and presidential quotes on cards. You argue with your friends in a fun way about them. If you're not, don't worry if you think that it's political. It's really more Mad Libs than it is about, where you sit on the Venn diagram of political thought. It is a fun time. It's available for the cheapest price we've ever sold it right now in honor of the birth of our country. So go ahead and get it. TheContender.us. It's $17.76. $17.76. Get it? It's the year America was born. You can get that with no offer code. And if you have already got the game, then you can get our mini expansions. We're selling those for the first time ever. Buy one, get one. So as long as you have an even number of mini expansions in your cart, put in code ROCKETS, and it will take half that price clean off. So thank you to all the DTNS listeners that have already bought the game. We've had a great response to this sale. And if you want to do it, then do it now because it ends after this weekend. TheContender.us. Use code ROCKETS for buy one, get one on our mini expansions.
Listening to DTNS, I think, is fun for most of you, or you probably wouldn't be doing it, but being a member of DTNS makes it even more fun. Become a Patreon, and you get to talk to other patrons, get some live streams, expanded content, and more. You can find out all the things on offer at patreon.com/DTNS.
Hey, want to send us feedback? Good, because we want it. Our email address is feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. We're also live. If you can join us, you can listen, you can watch. You can even do both. Monday through Friday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 2030 UTC, and find out more at dailytechnewsshow.com/live.
Back tomorrow with Shannon Morse and Len Peralta. Talk to you then.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Oh, have I? I'll say.
Go on.
And how?
Oh, that's the best one. And how? That one I never really understood. I know what it means, but I don't know like
and how
But why it means that? Yeah.
Yeah,
How did it
yeah.
get there?
Yeah. And how?
Well, I want to know where bees knees came from.
Rogers. Yep.
Right?
I don't know.
Like, that's the
someone on the
bee's
internet
knees.
probably knows what
What
the
does that
bee's
mean?
knees.
Like a bee?
I think it's just a rhyming thing.
Genuflex and
I don't think it
respected?
has anything to do with bees having knees. It's sort
Definitely
of like,
not a literal thing
it's
of any.
like
All right, here it is. Bees carry pollen back to the hive in sacks on their legs. Attempting to explain this phrase as alluding to the concentrated goodness to be found around a bee's knee.
oh,
Evidence to support this explanation.
okay. So
yeah,
it was.
It began in 20th century America, just a nonsense expression that denoted something that didn't have any meaningful existence.
I mean, when you explain it, I'm like, oh, that's cool. But it's like, how did that become just like a, hey, cool, bee's knees? Knowing that no one's going to know what that, unless you're a beekeeper or something.
First printed version of this was a May 5th, 1914 edition of a Fort Wayne Sentinel cartoon in which one of the characters said that his pet ate bees' knees.
Oh.
Hmm.
Okay.
Not sure what
Fort
that
Wayne,
means.
our cultural touchstone.
Hey, Fort Wayne, that's where my dad's truck was built many, many, many decades ago.
Mhm.
In Fort Wayne, huh?
Fort Wayne, Indiana.
Oh, and
I
apparently
have never been there.
it became very popular as a cool guy phrase in the Roaring '20s.
Ah, you don't say.
I'll say.
Along with the
ow.
phrase apple knocker to refer to somebody who was rustic.
Oh, apple knocker. Was that
I've never heard of apple
so
knocker.
did that come before or after rube? Like you're a rube. No.
You're gonna make me look up the origin of rube too? All right.
Well, I know what a rube is.
But
That's definitely an
Rube is more of a
old-fashioned
sucker,
term.
though.
But apple knocker, I've never heard. I've heard of a
I've-
door knocker, but that's a whole other thing.
I've definitely heard apple knocker before.
You
Yeah.
have? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh. What
Long
about
time ago.
I wonder if it coexisted with hayseed.
Yeah, hayseeds lasted longer though.
Hayseed, redneck, and apple knocker. I feel like those are in the same family.
So I'm sorry. Apple knocker means
Somebody from out of town, like somebody from a rustic.
From the sticks.
I see.
Somebody from out of town, showing your municipal bias there, Justin.
Well, but okay, from somebody who was from the former Apple capital of California and the U.S., I take issue with this.
You
because
would be.
What does it mean? Like, oh, you're from that place where there's a lot of apples around?
You're a hick. You're a Hoosier. You're an apple knocker.
Well, you know what? Loud and proud, man.
I used to knock apples myself.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with knocking some apples. They're
You should
delicious.
just carry a bag of apples and throw them at people who cross you.
Proud to be apple knockers.
That's right. That's right.
Take
We
a
used
red
to,
delicious to the eye.
No, Red Delicious are not good apples, Roger.
I know that's why you
gracious.
toss them. They're good
Maybe-
thrown apples.
Yeah, I'm an elite apple knocker.
I like the envy apples and the what's the one that starts with the G? Not the granny. The
You're not talking about Fuji's.
no, they're sweeter.
Gala.
Yeah, that Gala and
Gala
envy.
apples are really good.
Gala and envy are my picks for
Gala
apples.
Gala and Fuji's are my favorite, and then Gravensteins are the best for pie because they're not actually that sweet when they get cooked.
Yeah, like Red Delicious, I don't understand. They're just mushy.
No,
Always.
they
Red Delicious-
are an offensive apple.
I think they used to be better. I think they got bred into graininess.
It's
If
possible.
I could be making this up, but I felt like I read that at one time Red Delicious were true to their name, but then they got bred to be bigger and to last longer, and it took all the taste out of them.
Yeah.
Mm.
But I also, people like a Granny Smith, and I'm like, Granny Smith is garbage.
Too
to
tart.
me.
Too tart.
Yeah, no good. But tart isn't bad. Granny Smith is just a bad apple.
Oh, a
Real-
bad
those are-
apple.
Those are my
Mother-
favorite. I love Granny Smith.
And that's fine. I'm happy for you. but I don't know why people like these awful apple strains.
Well, I think what Sarah's saying is one bad
good.
apple.
That's good.
This is like the one thing that I'm good at is
Much.
apple stuff.
Knocking apples.
Grew up on an apple orchard. I don't know anything except this.
Is like apple picking tours a thing out here?
Yes. Not tours, but there are orchards where you pay to pick your own apples.
Well, because I never really knew it as a thing growing up in Florida, but when I went to school in the Northeast, it was huge. It was like the thing to do in the fall is to go to an apple orchard and pick your apples.
Sorry. Breaking news. Mike Kepper has alerted me through Slack. Cobden, Illinois high school's nickname were the Apple Knockers. That's definitely why I know that. There you go.
Oh.
That was their nickname by a rival school?
No, that was their like Highland
Their
Bulldogs.
mascots?
They were the Cobden Apple Knockers.
Oh, so it's not a disparaging thing.
Well, no more than Hoosier can be, and the Indiana University calls themselves Hoosiers, but it means hick.
I really liked that movie, Hoosiers.
Yeah.
Good one.
You Numtot You?
I believe Roger's suggesting a title, or are you just disparaging?
I think
I'm
maybe
suggesting
both.
a title
Maybe
for the
both.
episode.
Yeah. Okay. Is that what we're calling it?
like
A
it.
couple of the other ones covered the topic, but I thought maybe a little too dark.
Gotcha. Okay. Cool.
Mhm.
You Numtot You.
You Numtot You.
Cool. Done.
When I first heard that or saw that, I was thinking like, oh, is it like a tater tot? Because it's another tot thing or a tot lot.
So it's an acronym. But
What's
not
a
an
nunchuck?
That's the thing Bruce Lee used to defeat his enemies. It has
I
the
know
two
that it's a
sticks.
weapon, but what is it?
It's the two sticks with the chain in the middle.
Okay,
They
got
just
it.
twirl
Okay.
around.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you're good at it,
Martial
it's
art
awesome.
thing. Yeah.
If you're bad at it, then
It
you
would-
get
yeah,
hit
you're
in the
gonna
head.
hurt
You hit yourself in the
Yeah.
head or the groin.
Mm.
It makes for funny YouTube videos.
Does it?
Oh yeah.
Nunchuck grind YouTube.
No, literally look for it and you'll laugh when you. Well, most
Will
of them.
I?
Some of them you'll just say, "Ow, that looks
Will
painful," but you'll laugh
But
because it's
then-
self-inflicted.
Will I?
Will I? I'm asking.
Yeah, you will. I'm telling
Okay.
you.
All right.
Unless you don't have a sense of humor, then I can't help you. I partly this is
Something tells me that you and I might our Venn diagram humor may overlap, but not completely.
it's kind of weird. I tend toward highbrow humor, but my wife loves Fail Army, and I watch a lot of that because she watches it. And over time, I've slowly succumbed to that. Like, oh, he tried to do an ollie and he fell on his balls or something.
It's funny how I was just thinking about this the other day because I was talking to a friend of mine from high school, and we used to watch a lot of Beavis and Butthead. And I mean, that to me, it's like that's just the funniest thing in the world, and it's not even really my kind of humor, but it was just so funny. It was so stupid, but like
it was so
kind of
blatantly
clever.
stupid.
Yeah, like it was cleverly stupid. And we kind of laughed like, what do we have that's like that now? And I'm sure there's things I just don't know about.
That's the problem. I don't think that there's anywhere legally that you can buy the full Beavis and Butthead episodes with the video commentaries, which were always the best part.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Because of the music clearances.
Oh,
But
why doesn't MTV rerun that thing? I would watch it.
I think
Because of the movie clearances or the music clearances.
yeah, part of it is it's just
like-
really, really expensive to run.
Okay.
Because there's a different license needed for Beavis and Butthead than for playing videos.
Right. I don't know.
It's a sync
But
license.
officially, and that's why a lot of that MTV stuff isn't available, or when you get the DVDs, it's all scrubbed of the music forever. That was why the state, the sketch show was on MTV,
Which was very funny.
which was
Was
hilarious.
it?
Really funny.
It had its moments, but most of it was pretty bad.
No, it was funny.
You've been overruled 2-1.
That was like belly laugh humor.
The only one I thought was off the wall funny was a skit with the pudding in the trunk of the Cadillac.
Arian
Like,
Levon, of course. Yes, no, Barry and Levon. That was the with the trunk full of pudding.
Yeah.
Wait, come on! You're telling me I'm gonna dip my balls in it?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't want to say it, but it's,
Well, at least, yeah. And I still remember that skit of like the other guy just being like, "Come on, this is just like, he's just being really cheap."
Yeah.
Jesus is just like he's going for the cheap laugh.
Yeah, exactly.
Roger's laughing.
Doug and his dad, the cool guy. Man, you better not.
I'm Doug, and I'm out of here.
I'm out of here.
Actually, the worst. I shouldn't say the worst. One of the most short-lived sketch comedy shows was the Ben Stiller show.
Oh,
I
that
remember
was
that.
season, and it was brilliant.
But it didn't last very long. It lasted like
season. That was it.
Yeah.
I think
that
was the one that got. I think it got the Emmy, despite the fact that it was canceled.
When was this?
Ben Stiller show had to be 94, 95.
Oh, okay. So it's like before he was like a movie star.
Oh,
yeah. No, this was Ben Stiller. The cast was Ben Stiller, Janine Garofalo, Andy Dick, and Bob Odenkirk.
Well,
It's actually where
Bob Odenkirk was in it?
Yeah.
It's where I first knew Ben Stiller, Bob Odenkirk, and Janine Garofalo from, because a friend of mine introduced me to that show and then introduced me to Mr. Show, because he's like, that guy from Ben Stiller's show, he's got his own deal now with his friend, David Cross.
Yeah.
How about that?
But yeah, no, Ben Stiller show, that was a classic. That was great.
Speaking of how about that, whatever happened to the Cash Me Outside girl? Is she still around?
She's she's a Bad Baby.
Yeah.
She had a music career, yeah.
But I know she had a couple songs, but these things tend to dip quickly. I hadn't heard of her in a few months. I didn't know if she
came had a little spike in relevance because she got into the fight with the other tween,
right?
Lil
Vicky. Yeah.
And then there was
Lil covered on the Jury Show.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Then, it was
Which we did talk about this, but again,
yeah,
several months ago, I wasn't sure if it was.
I think it was like last month. I think time just moves faster now, but
maybe it does. Maybe it does.
But I don't know, because there's a lot of stuff now, even with music, and I consider myself fairly up to date on music, and there's still stuff where that XXX station kid who got killed.
Yeah. I literally, I'm with you on this, because I was like, I've seen that written out.
Yes.
Couldn't tell you anything about him. That's tragic. And then I heard one of his songs. I'm like, oh, I love that song.
Yeah.
Oh, it's him. Got it.
Him. Yeah.
But I didn't know that.
And I these are like people that are like apparently a huge element of the SoundCloud kind of rap scene.
Right.
I'm like right where I grew up, which I'm normally like I'm more predisposed. I'm gonna listen to this on some level through many different channels. No clue. So
well,
I don't know if Bad Baby is popping in these streets is what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, she there's a tier. There are levels to this. Yeah. As they say. I also, there are certain things that I really want to think of myself as like the coolest hippest always, but I'm on a group text, somebody sent a picture of Jay-Z wearing a helmet on a jet ski.
Yes.
And it was like, the caption was like, whose man's? Meaning like, come get your man. And I was like, I don't get this. Like, what are we laughing at? And everyone's like, Jay-Z's wearing a helmet on a jet ski, Sarah. And I'm like, I'm literally too old. Like, I don't get these jokes anymore.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to laugh. I was like, I don't know. That looks safe.
That seems like a very wise precaution.
He's worth a lot of money. Like, right. A lot of people depend. Imagine the 401ks of his employees if he were
right.
safe precaution, fiduciary responsibility.
Right.
Jay.
Yeah. But I also, was scared the first time I rode a bird scooter. So, it's over for me. All right. I had my day in the sun.
I'm here to say I love and embrace our new scooter overlords. I love them. I hope San Francisco bans them permanently so they stay in such abundance in Oakland.
Thanks for joining us on the video. If you're listening to Good Day Internet on audio, stick around. There's more to come.